Here's an exclusive.
Come on, baby, come on.
You're in the mix with Brandon.
It's going down.
The DJ Everyday J on iHeart and Dash.
Broadcasting from Hollywood, it's the official On Air with Brandon J podcast.
Hi, guys. What's up? I'm Brandon. Welcome to On Air with Brandon J. I'm joined by a special guest today. That's right. You may have seen him on ABC's Claim to Fame. He just won, beat all the other contestants out. A personal friend of mine. He's a public speaker, recording artist, Gabriel Cannon. Gabriel, how are you, man?
Man, what's up, Brandon? Man, it's been a while, man. We go so far back, man. It's crazy. It's just a pleasure to be here, man. God is good, man. It's good to see you.
You know what I was just thinking? I was like, I've known Gabriel and the Cannons literally since 2009. Like, so much has happened since 2009. And when I met you, you know, you were doing music and we were doing all these nonprofit events and like, you know,
Right.
feeding the homeless with the LA food bank and all of this stuff. And it's just amazing to see all these years later, you did it, man. I mean, you've built a name for yourself. Like, what was it like when you found out like, hey, I actually beat all these other contestants on Claim to Fame?
Man, it was crazy. But to get into kind of a lot of what you just said, man, I think it's very important because even with winning Claim to Fame, a lot of people ask me, like, what are you going to do with the money? What are you going to do with the money? And to, you know, have somebody who's, like you said, known the family since 2009 and everything that you just said, man, we was on the front line giving away food to the homeless. And, you know, that was really my position. You know, I know you remember I ran the street team all the time. No matter what Nick was doing, there was a street team attached and I ran.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
It's incredible, right? So, but just to see that, just to see, like, you know, the family has been on the front line in the community and the humanitarian efforts, you know, since we came to Hollywood. And that's a lot of what I want to continue to do. And especially with this money, this prize money from Claim to Fame, thank you, ABC. Yeah, definitely. So when I it was an unreal moment, man, when I realized that I won. I knew it was possible. You know me, I'm a man of faith. I'm gonna go in there with my faith. I'm gonna go in there with some strategy. You know what I'm saying? But even watching it back, man, watching it with the world, to realize that I think the only person who probably knew me at the end was Monay. Like, you know, they were still talking about Terry Crews and T-Pain.
I
Like,
know. I was like, what? Terry Crews? What?
right. So, you know, just a strategy. I went in there with a great strategy and holding on to faith, man. So it was unreal to, you know, realize this moment. Cause like you said, we've been, you know, grinding for a while, signed the Def Jam. I remember doing interviews with you, man, through the years.
I know, man, back in the day, like, guys, everybody out there watching this, like Gabriel and Ruben and the entire family, right? Incredible was just amazing to us. And it was great to see because not only did we do things in Hollywood, but we did things at like the Playground Festival and like Irvine at the Verizon Amphitheater and stuff when Nick was DJing. I mean, so many different things. And you guys were always so open and willing to just collaborate and just open-minded. And man, it's always great. You know, I have nothing but positive things to say about the entire incredible entertainment family.
Hey, man, we definitely appreciate it, man. You've been with us, you know, dang it, the whole way through, man. And just for me to break through, man, it's been time because, you know, if anybody know, I've been had this energy, man.
Man, it's I'm like, you just now got here, Gabriel? It's been all these years, you know. You got it, man. And you know what was funny about watching the finale of this season, right, to show who the winner is? I was like, Chris, right? He looks identical to Donny Osmond, and everybody's like, he's like, I don't think anybody's gonna figure out who I am, and I'm like, it's so blatantly obvious, like.
Right. And I tell people, like, the way I got to it wasn't really from the clues. Well, it was from the 70s. That, you know what I mean? They'll say,
yeah.
70s. And for me, I've flashed back to the Jackson 5. It's in the 70s. Michael still had his fro. He's still black. So who would be his friend or rival? And the only person I could think of was Donny Osmond. But I kept it in the pocket because, as you see, like, people just took their own initiative to just shoot these other shots. So for me, it's like, all right, go ahead. If you think that'll work, let's see.
That's right. Let me win that 100K. And then,
right. I was gonna have that name in my back pocket.
That's it.
Right, yeah. So when you see that scene with me and Monay, we're role playing, I kind of like, if you see when I first say Donny Osmond, if you look at my eyes, I kind of open them like just to see her reaction and to see if, I got any movement on that. And when I got her reaction, I tried to reel it back in like, well, I'm still imagining, but you know what I mean? She gave me all I needed to know in that reaction. And so after that, I could try to take it back.
Man, it's all about strategy with these reality shows. Like, and it's crazy. There's been so many of them. I mean, for years and years and years. And yet our population, I would just say in the USA, but globally, never gets tired of these reality shows, man.
Right. I think it's a life thing because they say art imitates life, right? I was able to see that firsthand on the show. Like, how, in life, I would always think like, I'm either hot or cold, right? So it's either I'm either goofy or silly, or it's like, oh, you can tell he mad. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I would always get to that point to where it's like, I would let stuff go for a while, let stuff go. And then I would get to a point like, does people think I'm dumb or something? And so even on the show, it kind of allowed me to see like, not necessarily that people think you dumb. It's just that being silly and being goofy can sometimes overshadow intelligence. You know what I'm saying? So where it's like, I was able to hide behind being silly and just, always got something to say. He always is something. But,
right.
Is this something because I'm paying attention or trying to move something, you know what I'm saying? So arts imitate life. So I think with the reality shows, man, it's just people are getting a dosage of just real life through, that art form of reality TV.
Man, speaking of real life, right? There's so many things happening right now here in 2023. And let's talk about AI, because that's a lot of the complexity and the conflict, I should say, when it comes to the strikes happening in Hollywood. And you know this better than I do. But like, should someone be able to take your image and pay you just a flat fee, right? It's like a licensing sync deal. They pay you this flat fee of like, I don't know, 128, $250. And then they can use this image over and over and over. And I just don't agree with that, man.
Not at all. I think it kills the art form. You know what I mean? It kills the artist once they have the template, Like one thing, I keep going back to the show, but I was able to critique myself through these 10 episodes. You know what I mean? I was able to look and say, ooh, that wasn't a good face. Or, like, you know what I mean?
Right, I should have made that face.
Right. You know what I mean? So I was able to critique myself, which leaves room to grow. Like, you know what I mean? I'm able to grow and experience the growth. And, and I think it's almost taken away from life's journey. Like, you know what I mean? The instantaneous, now factor, even with knowledge and growing, a lot of things is experiential knowledge. And, I think we're taking away a lot of the key thing. This life is about the journey you go on.
No, it is, man. It's about the dream and seeing the impossible become possible. And what you can think or imagine, it can become real life, but it takes a sacrifice. It takes a dedication and a commitment to make that happen.
Right. No, absolutely, man. So
I got deep on us right now here on Air with Brandon J. Let's shift gears,
You made me think of, remember John Henry, when the guy with the hammer, and he was racing against the machine when the machine wave came, and he had to prove that his hammer was still sharp and his steel hammer. And so it's kind of almost like that, but just now on this side of the game. Because even, I know the creatives, for me, we know that if we get writer's block, you could throw something in the AI in it, but it almost like, dang, it defeats that self-discovery, that digging inside of self to come up with these metaphors or you know what I mean? I can listen to stuff over and over with, dang, how did you come up with that? How did you put those words together? But, even when you hear a ghostwriter, like, if you find out that maybe Drake is not writing this stuff, it kind of takes away from your allure to that artist, because it's not all you. Like, them weren't your thoughts that made your feelings, and then you add AI, a robot, to it. It's like
speaking of Drake or Aubrey Graham, as we say, Drake. AI showed some different things. Like, hey, if they took Drake's voice and mimicked it, and it was great to say the least, to listen to it, but it lacks those nuances that only Drake can put out, that only Gabriel Cannon or whoever, DaBaby. The list goes on, right? You cannot fabricate the spirit of something. You could try to imitate it, but it's not the same.
Right. So yeah, no, you said you can't fabricate the spirit of a man.
Nah, man.
Like,
I think your dad James would be like, "That's right, Dr. J." He always calls me
right,
Dr. J. I'm
Dr.
like, I'm not a doctor, but I appreciate the compliment, sir.
Right, doctor. That's hilarious.
There it is, man. So, Gabriel, now that you've won, what are the things that you're focusing on now? Because okay, you won the show, you won the 100 grand toward charity, whatever. What's next for Gabriel Cannon?
Man, what's next, man? I feel definitely in the entertainment world, hosting for sure. I
Yeah.
definitely got some game show ideas. ABC, y'all holla at me. First look deal, holla at your boy, and whoever else wants
First
some
look deal. Hey, I mean that's what it is though. Because correct me if I'm wrong, Gabriel, and just to add on that, but Nick got a first look deal with NBC a few years back, correct?
He did. He's like the reason why I hear a lot of these terms. I know what these things are, and so I don't know what the paperwork is, but he had a few of them through the years, and basically just that any idea you come up with, bring it to our table first. If we'll pass on it, you could go shop it to them, but we want to look at it first, and you get paid for that. So just being, understanding the different hustles out here, man, is amazing. Being writers and the behind the scenes, and I'm excited to just jump into full-fledged both feet in, because we got the training, and it was always can't wait till I get in, and you get this bag and it gets bigger and it gets bigger, these ideas and dreams, and then it's like, okay, well, I guess we ain't got to get in, baby. That's a good thing. Root big bro on, and now it's like, oh, we 10 toes down in this thing.
Yeah, when I saw Nick co-sign it, I was like, okay, I could see you going into that position of hosting, of creating new content. And the interesting thing you mentioned, Gabriel, about that, when, for example, I know people that were shopping, various ideas and stuff to the network, but there's clauses that when you submit this material, they own it. And it's crazy. It's like, in order to get something really picked up, you got to have a real solidified relationship. And it just so happens that you come from a family that is blessed beyond measure when it comes to entertainment.
No, absolutely, man. God is so real. So yeah, man, that's the thing, to finally get this bag unloaded, man. And it's some amazing ideas I feel from the throne room in heaven, man. And when timing is perfect timing, you know me from back in the Def Jam days, baby. It might not have been time back then.
Hey, I got to tell everybody a story. So this is back in like 2009 when we first met, and I was like, Gabriel, where you guys at? And you guys pulled up in this stretch limo Hummer thing. I don't know. I can't even remember what it was. And you're like, man, jump on in. And I mean, it was, and then we went like, I can't remember all the places we went on Hollywood Boulevard, but that's when you were living that tour life. And I got to see it firsthand.
Right, man. We was before our time, and that's a lot of the experience we was able to get. But, I kind of appreciate that it's happening now, because you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
God's timing is perfect, because if y'all would have shed the light on me a little earlier, I would have been like Ray J, little brother. A little more wilder, but yeah, man, I think God's timing is perfect. Even all the work that I've been doing in the community, and even what I want to do with the money to build these youth empowerment centers. I think it's needed. You know what I mean? I think that bridge, I think that ambassador, that person who stands in between Hollywood, all of the brands, the youth, and the community, that person who's, hey, I'll be the guy if you got a brand, because, I feel the brands, future buyers are the youth of tomorrow. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's what it is, man. I mean, yeah, our kids, man. I mean, when I met you, I didn't have any kids. Now I'm a father, and it's changed my whole perspective on life in general. And, I was watching an episode, Gabriel, a couple of days ago of Joe Rogan on, his podcast. And he was speaking about he was just using LA, for example, and all the homeless. And the reason there's such a bad homeless problem is because the people on the committee, they're not doing anything that they say they're going to do with the resources. And I was going to say, what can we do to not just clean up LA for that matter, but clean up a lot of our metropolitan cities?
Man, excuse me. What I realized? That a lot of the institutions was built for specific purposes. Even the educational institution, and working in the mentorship area, I'm starting to see what we went to through going to school, being trained to become workers. You know what I'm saying? And you know, there's value in the education system. I'm not gonna knock it, but it's training you to become a worker, you know, and I think to combat that, we need to create other institutions, you know, whether it's after school programs, whether it's summer camps, to the same, because they're spending 8 hours a day, every day from 5 to 18. You know what I mean? And not saying they're just feeding them with poison, but they might just be giving them these placebos and keeping them numb, you know, in their best development years. So I feel the biggest option, man, is to, I don't want to say combat the educational, but come alongside the educational system. You know, a lot of times they have their 8 hours in that day mastered. You know what I mean? They have it locked up. You can't really get in between those 8 hours. So I think our best thing is to come alongside the educational system and create programs that gives these kids life skills. You know what I mean? That gives these kids business development, because they can help their mothers pay rent right now. If you teach a kid how to put a logo on a shirt and put it on the internet, e-commerce, he can help his mother pay that light bill. You know what I mean? He can become
absolutely
in his community right now. And they have the tools. They all on the cell phones. I don't know how they getting them. They got the Jordans, the cell phones, all of those things, all of the tools they need. You know what I mean? And they're bringing light to themselves. It's just they're bringing it for the wrong reasons. You know, they out there scrapping and fighting. So it's like, yo, if we can bring you guys the know-how, the direction to, yo, let's get these kids some income. You teach a kid how to make some money. You teach them how to fish. You ain't got to keep buying them fish, baby.
Well, you know what's funny, and to add on to that, and I agree with all of those points, right? And I think that's where it's at. There is no greater freedom, Gabriel, than being an entrepreneur, than creating your own lane. Like I remember a couple years back on the cover of the LA Times where they said a college degree is, I can't remember the exact title, but I believe it was like worthless and all of the above. And now I look back and I'm like, all of the things that I've really acquired, the relationships that I built over the years, it's been on the job, in the field training. Like they can't teach this stuff in school. Right. They just can't. I mean, can they? I don't know.
No, it's hands-on experience, you know. Even God himself, who knew all things, you know, from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Down and had to come get an experiential knowledge of it. Like, you know what I mean? So mankind couldn't say, well, how you know? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
He himself had to come get it. Though he had there's a difference between knowledge, but experience, you know, book knowledge and knowledge from experience and things, you know what I mean? And applied, it becomes wisdom. So, you know, I think you have to go through certain experiences to gain a certain appreciation. If the CEO hasn't gotten an appreciation for what the janitor does, he'll be a snob to that janitor. But if he's mopped those floors before, if he took pride in that shine, if he recognized a janitor that takes pride in that same shine, like he becomes a better leader. You know what I mean? So I think experience is key, you know, and I think giving these kids the experience they need, not just sitting them in the classroom, giving them experience of probably, you know, it was people like Mr. Rogers, like, you know what I mean? And Lamb Chops Play Along. It was people like that who taught
man,
us
you
how.
went back. I'm like, Lamb Chops Play Along. You went back.
Right. But it was people like that in programming like that. Asks us like, how do you deal with death of a family member? How do you deal with when you're feeling sad? Like, they're not teaching us how to deal with this real world and our real selves in these schools. Like, you know what I'm saying? So
they're brushing it off and they're like, oh, that doesn't matter anymore. And the traditional way of doing things, like the golden rule, like this is what I was taught, like do unto others as you would have do unto you. In other words, treat other people the way you want to be treated. And you don't really see that anymore. People are just like, people are short attention. They got anxiety. It's just a lot going on.
Right. And it's like, it's becoming the rule. Like even the rules of Hollywood, like even like, you know, people are making this rule. Well, you got to be cutthroat to be a part of this business, or you got to be this way. And, you know, even a lot of the part of, you know, and all glory to God for me going on the show, I kind of felt a mission in me to like is not to prove that you got, even on these reality competition shows, like you can be an honest person and win. Like you can be a good guy and win. Like you can fight. Like you can't just have your fingers crossed. No, you're gonna have to fight hard. Like, and there's gonna be some times out. You're gonna have to go to war for what you believe in, but you don't have to shiest your neighbor. You don't have to backstab, your teammates, you know what I mean, to gain the victory. And I think, even the character that God allowed me to play on this reality show, because I was just being me, but to watch it back, I'm even watching this like, yo, that's not me. That's something that, God wanted to present. You know what I mean?
Like composure, you were poised, you had the swag that was needed to win the bag. I mean, hey, it is what it is.
You know me, sometimes I can be a loose cannon, baby.
Yeah, loose cannon, no pun intended.
Right. But just to display the character of, the good guy doesn't lose. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's the world lied to us and told us that the good guy loses. But
oh yeah, absolutely.
You look in our communities, all these fathers, all of these people in these communities, these firemen, these officers. Like I know an officer who goes to my church, one of the stand-up guy, and he's younger than me. He's like 30 maybe, like, you know what I'm saying? But he's an officer, a father, a pillar in his church. And it's like, that's a good guy, man. Like he wins, like, and not even that, on his off time, he comes speak to my kids, like in my class, and it's like, yo, where do you find the time to be a husband? It's like, the world lied and they told us that the good guy loses, the good guy finished last. And it's like, that's a falsehood. The good guy always wins. Good always triumphs, And I think that's what me going on Claim to Fame season 2 was to prove, honestly.
Yeah, no, I think it's about being, you said it right on, right? It's about being that light and shining a light into an area that needs a light to be shined upon, because men are looked at like, let's just keep it real. Like we're trash, right. The courts are set up, designed to where the man automatically is at fault, right? We're automatically at fault, but it takes two to tango, right? A child is not born, A, without the man, B, without the woman. And most importantly, first and foremost, if God doesn't bless that seed to become, a child. So it's interesting because growing up in Columbia, South Carolina, I've seen so many things, right? And Columbia is growing, right? But there are things that still lack with the mentality in Columbia. And I know Columbia is not the only place, Gabriel. There's places all over the U.S. And like what we talk about in these organizations, and they're set up with their own policies and their rules and their procedures and things. But I think it's going to take people like yourself, myself, and anybody else, our peers, right, to make that difference, to show that you can succeed by doing the right thing. Like you being a man, you can provide and do these things. So, man, I commend you, man.
Man, I appreciate it, man.
I said, man, like 7 times, but I commend you. Okay.
I definitely appreciate it. And I can't take the credit. It's like I said, it's all God, because I didn't know what I was going in there to do. I didn't know the purpose. I didn't make the phone call. You know what I mean? I was praying like a change gonna come, Lord, because even
change will come.
Like, to be honest, like I'm working with young visionaries, an amazing nonprofit. My brother Terrence Stone, you've been running it for 20 years, 22 years now. Was a former gang member, changed his life, gave his life to God, and now been in the community frontline. Like he's been my mentor on this community work, and to for me to have seen Hollywood, the top of it, we've been at everybody's event together, you know what I'm saying? And now to come in this community and for the last 7 years to see the hard work this brother's put in, and every year our events is growing, but to also know that in Hollywood, man, they spend dang near $250,000 on one event for one night.
It's wild. I remember being at a party with you, Gabriel. Now I can't remember what year this was, right? We're going back in time, but we were it was a Halloween party that Nick was throwing. And I know that you guys had rented out Jennifer Lopez and Mark Anthony's old house, right? Because this thing was immense, right? But they got swimming pools, but there's no water in the pool, right, guys? I'm from the South. Like we used to the water in the pool, Miami, all that stuff. But I remember going to this party, right? And Gabriel, everybody was there, Ruben and some Cash, everybody, right? And I ended up getting lost because it was that massive outside. And I ended up like talking to the Monster girls that were giving out, samples of Monster and stuff. And I'm like, man, this thing is crazy. And that was just one party we went to.
Right. That's the one I threw, man, at Hollywood.
Oh, you threw that one. Okay. I couldn't remember who threw that one. I was like, yo, this thing is off the chain.
But I left Hollywood after that, man. After that, I seen like, this ain't it, man. That's really when I left and went to Bible college. Yeah. That party, man. Because the evils that was in it, and I needed it. I needed it for my own maturing and growing. But yeah, man, Hollywood is definitely what I seen was, in the community events is like, if we're doing all of this for these celebrities and, all of these brands will come to the table for these celebrities one night of clapping, like I'm sure all these brands that come to the table for these kids who, for the brand's purposes, like, yo, they're going to know your brand from childhood. And of course, they're going to become consumers. But at the same time, give us the tools. Give us the tools to prepare them to become, your stockholders or whatever that is. Give us the computers, the book bags, the whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of my goal now, is to be the ambassador to the youth for sure. From Hollywood, the brands, and to the youth and to the community, to be that ambassador, to come up with those community events, those tech events, Xbox. If you got your new Xbox or whatever, come display it for our kids. Let's give our kids these laminates. Let's have a red carpet for these kids in these communities, in these neighborhoods, who's really putting in this work and our ideas of tomorrow. Our thinkers and leaders of tomorrow. So I don't think the school systems encourages critical thinking and change. It's a system, you know what I mean? And you go.
No, they set you up where it's like the Wild Wild West, and it's like, I've got amnesia. Where am I at? This wasn't taught to me. I didn't know that it's all about politics and relationships in terms of how far I'm going to go in corporate America if that's your lane.
Right. And I think we need, and not to knock the education system, but I think we need another community-driven system right beside it, almost parents of education. Like, okay, you guys and now the community come and drive this hand of bringing up our youth, and almost back to the idea of it takes a village. Like, you know what I mean? Let's come together as a unit, and imagine if the community comes together and we come together as a unit and decide what these kids got to learn this summer camp. And in our community, they ain't got no summer off. I know it sounds crazy, but if this land got, obstacle courses and dunking booths, and we're doing activities and campfire, it's gonna be the best summer of their life.
It's the ultimate summer camp. I couldn't agree with you more.
To bring these ideas and these tools back to the forefront to impact and to put these newer tools, because when we was in summer camp back in the day, we didn't have technology. Let's mix them now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Let's
for sure.
Ideas. Let's sit them down and instruct them through our word of mouth and our storytelling, but also give them the equipment and the technology to spread those stories through the universe.
Absolutely. Gabriel, in terms of the things that you've learned, being a recording artist, right? What advice do you have out there to give? What advice would you give those artists out there trying to build a name? Because everybody's like, oh, I need a label. Oh, I don't need the label. What advice would you give them?
I would say be authentic to you. We had back in the day, when rappers or artists would come out, you couldn't sound like nobody else. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you sounded like somebody else, that's a diss to you. Now everybody hears something and everybody's trying to sound just like it. Now it's muddy waters. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I think to break through, you got to be unique. You got to be different. You got to stand out. And that's with your own fingerprint. Everybody in this world fingerprint is different. Who's ever lived before you, who's ever lived after you, it's different. So I think of tapping into self, find your unique voice, your unique sound, and present your uniqueness. I think people become in a box, and I think it stifles your creativity when you comparing and trying to sound like somebody else, other than being willing to error. And whatever error comes out, it might be a beautiful symphony. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Self-discovery, man. I think we've ran into a dead end with self-discovery, and it's time to remove those barriers and get back into digging into self. We're learning so much, we're creating so much, and we're doing so much outside that we're forgetting about this amazing technology inside of us, like that was better put together than any computer.
Yeah, I mean, listen, authenticity triumphs over everything. I came up with this quote like a couple of years ago, and I use it so much, but it's so true. Like, I don't want to be like anybody else. You know, everybody tries to size you up like, oh, you're trying to be such and such. Oh, you want to sound like such and such. No, I can't sound like anybody. I'm a hybrid, right? I'm from the South. Nobody sounds like me. I'm not trying to be anybody. I'm just trying to be authentic and bring purpose to when I'm doing these interviews. And that's been my main objective. And speaking of objectives, I know you're in the studio working on new music. What can we expect from Gabriel Cannon with this new music, man?
You can expect some powerful, monumental, inspirational music, man. We want to inspire people. We want to change the word. The spoken word is so powerful, man. People forget the power of the spoken word. It'll take a down soul and bring it joy. It'll bring a hopeless person full of hope. Like, you know what I'm saying? It'll bring light to the darkness, baby. So with this music, man, I got a project I'm working on called Victory. Of course, we just seen this brother win a victory, but as you know, there's a lot more victory that the world don't know that we had to overcome, being Nepo babies. I just learned that term from being on the show.
Right.
You know, just being Hollywood. Like I tell people, like imagine being on a stage, right? And there's a big bright light in front of you. Most of the times you can't see those people in that front row. You can see the people in those other rows. And so it's like we were the people in that front row that you couldn't see. So now the light has tilted down. It's like, man, I just want to be a light to everyone else. I want to bring encouragement, inspiration, uplift your spirit. So this project is called The Victory. More than just my victory, it's the victory in all of us. All of us are overcomers. All of us can achieve our greatness by just tapping in to that uniqueness, that fingerprint. Why was I designed? We were designed with a purpose. We each have a calling. DMX said, we each have a star. All you have to do is find it. And once you
Where my dog's at.
Find it. You feel me? Where my dog's at.
That's it, man. Hey, Gabriel, in terms of collaborations, right? If there's a producer or an artist you could collaborate with, who would be the ideal collaboration for Gabriel Cannon?
Man, the ideal collaboration right now for Gabriel Cannon is my boy Sevin, Sevin, an amazing inspirational gospel hip hop artist, or Gemstones, Bizzle. You know, some of them guys. I would love to shed light on, you know, the people who helped me get through. You know, there's a time I left Hollywood, like in the club, stumbling, and went straight to Bible college. You know what I mean? And
Hallelujah. That's what it's about.
Real, like, I needed some people that looked like me and who could relate to where I was coming from, but also relate to where I was going. You know what I mean? So I needed that identity in my identity crisis, you know. So the brothers who was willing to leave the streets, to leave the gangs, and to actually go follow God, like I find strength in that. You know what I mean? Anybody can go be a gangbanger their whole life and live for it and die for it, or be this way their whole life. But I find strength in that person who dedicated their life to something and who's willing to reinvestigate and change it and become something new, a caterpillar going into its cocoon, becoming a butterfly type thing, you know. So the Sevens, the Gemstones, the Bizzles, Hurt. There's a lot of people in the CHH gospel hip hop community. I definitely want to rub shoulders with, elbows. For me, it's not trying to get in and, you know, mingle with the Hollywood folks. You know, it's
right. Right. You've been there, done that. Like that's old news.
Done that. You know what I mean? And people probably see in my face and realize, oh, snap, he was in that room. Yeah, I was there. And, you know, but my thing is to be a light, to be a bridge, you know, so that if that's for, you know, some of my peers with the same, you know, motivation and ambition of being effective and a light in this world, or being a light to those people in darkness, that's definitely where I want to be. I'm not too much into trying to get into the glitter and being the it guy. You know,
Gabriel, we've seen so many tragedies happen in Hollywood. And I'm saying Hollywood being the entertainment industry. I mean, we recently just lost the lead singer of Smash Mouth. And I saw Joey Fatone, you know, formerly NSYNC, and he posted that, you know, Steve was someone that was a friend that Smash Mouth opened up for NSYNC, and then Steve sung at his wedding. But he said, we've got to do a better job of building awareness in the community for alcoholism and different things like that. And do you think that if we come together as a community, being Hollywood, and we really, put ourselves out there for people to have a shoulder to cry on and stuff, do you think that that can possibly prevent some of the tragedies that are continuously happening right now?
No, absolutely, fully. I mean, you get those people who become invincible to the public. They
Yeah.
become these public figures. They become these larger than life people. And so to express your pain or to express your humanality when the world thinks you're Superman is almost, your kryptonite. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's
Yeah.
something you can't do, because now this thing that made you so great, now you bring yourself down and now you're just like everybody else. And that fear of not being special, when you've worked so hard to be special, so to share your vulnerability to your family members when you work at FedEx is hard. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
No, I hear you.
to the world, to somebody, and even to when you share your information, like if I go to a rehab, what if there's a picture taken of me outside of there? You know what I'm saying? And
And they exploit it, right?
right. And now, you know what I mean? You could be just going to seek some help, and now you could have affected your whole career. And there's so many things that go in, and I think that should be a special unit, a special, I mean, I don't want to say a tax. People don't like tax, but I think that should be a special, like that's a specialty for people. There's a specialty, when in the house on Claim to Fame, everybody in that house was able to relate to each other because we understood from somewhere, a place that, you had to be there to understand. So it was a specialty about us in there that united us.
You could all relate to one another in some form or fashion.
Right. So, for somebody to be able to relate to a celebrity and to relate to a celebrity's pain to, I'm sure there's people who can look at these celebrities. I can. I think, with discernment, that you can look at a celebrity and think like he's probably not too happy. Like, what I mean? We can look at these people and see, we say it, we comment about them all the time. Like, you know what I mean? So if we can see it as the outside, as the fans, as people looking in, there should be some type of, I don't want to put a title on it, but, ministry.
Right. Right.
Come in and be able to check on these people. When these people, there could be a hotline, or I don't know what it is, but yeah, because that's a pressure that's unlike no other. They say that
I keep seeing it over and over, and I'm like, when I interview Gabriel, I'm going to ask him this question because I'm sure you've seen it with your own eyes, and I'm thinking, what could we do differently to prevent these people from leaving the earth too soon?
I mean, I've seen, with my own personal experience with my brother, and I don't want to be too personal, but hey, we out here. I've seen a person on a hospital bed, and the doctors advising them to get some rest. But this person is so programmed. There's so many people depending on you. There's so much that you, by even the doctor's unbelief, somehow get out of this bed and go back to work. Like,
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, you either got it or you don't. I mean, when you got the heart of a champion, right? You have it, and Nick has it as well. I think that
who knows what that's, the long-term effect of too much, or all of that, to, you know what I mean? We are yet to know, but we do see this happening with these celebrities. Their health becomes in question, because of the long hours. I set up with Nick from sun up to sundown writing a script. He got to get it done in that 24 hours. The idea is hot on his head, and because he's gonna have to move on to something else. And
for Wild 'N Out.
For that, for movie ideas he had, for me and him wrote a book called The Hustler's Handbook a few years back.
I remember that, man. Time flies.
The pace that you have to move is an abnormal pace. Like, you know what I mean? There's the God says on a certain day you need to rest, man. Like, the sun goes down. It's time to rest,
Sun's going down Friday. I'm resting from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown.
Right. So just to keep, that level of success up, it's definitely sacrifices some places, and we have yet to see all the places, it is called to sacrifice.
Man, I appreciate you sharing that part of that testimony, because a lot of people need to hear that. Like, This industry is not for the weak by any means. And it's continuous work. It's continuous sacrifice, even when you don't want to do it. I mean, prime example, I mean, Jamie Foxx, who would ever thought that would have happened to Jamie Foxx? And he's nothing but good people. I have nothing but great respect for Jamie. And seeing who they called in to fill his position on Beat Shazam, Nick Cannon.
Man, right. Somebody else who's just going in at these engines, but then like, you know, and you know, I don't even want to go there, but what if I mean, we've seen them work our heroes tape off. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then, you know, before they could pass the torch, before they could, you know, they so focused on running and, you know, they don't get the time to sit down and tell these stories. So a lot of our greats have came and we didn't get time to pick their brains. We didn't get time to get those knowledge, you know, and I see Nick, he's a master at that. I seen him sit down to Dick Gregory's and, you know, the Quincy Jones and make sure he's sitting at their feet, getting their knowledge, soaking it up. And that's the same thing. He is trying to get what they gave him. You know?
Hey, you're doing something right. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, but imagine the wisdom that a Michael Jackson could have still been given us.
Oh, man.
I'm saying, like, just in his old age, like that a young Michael, that a still performing Michael wouldn't give you, that a 70-year-old Michael could have sat back and reflected on and given you. You know what I mean?
Even a Prince, even an Elvis. I mean, the legends, right? Because they have a better perspective than all of us here.
Right. And then just them, but we miss those times because we those engines and they feel they gotta continue keeping the iron hot to please us, and you know, and we miss their prime. The prime is in their old age when we could sit at their feet and we could, you know, learn and hear of the stories and pass them down. And you know, imagine Michael telling us the first time that he, you know what I mean, with how he felt when he first hit a stage ever, when he heard the crowd do the moonwalk. We haven't got these interviews because he was moving. He didn't time. They was calling him names. We didn't get to reflect on his greatness, and you know what I mean. A new, because you know how everything old becomes new again. Like we didn't get to. We've seen it, but even a new generation that would have been introduced to him would have had a whole nother respect and would have been able to ask him questions we were never able to ask. So, yeah, man, we got to stop killing our stars and working them to death for sure.
Gabriel, man, this has been an awesome interview. It's always great to catch up with good people that are genuine and that deserve success, man. I'm proud of you, man. And something I wanted to ask you, right? What is something that we cannot Google about Gabriel Cannon? What's a fun fact that nobody knows about you, man?
Oh, the fact that you can't Google about Gabriel Cannon. Oh, that's a good one, man. You done stumped me, man.
We got Siri, we got Google. You know, with Siri, what's something that we don't know? And Siri's like, it pulls up things that we already know about you. So I can't really use Siri for that.
I'm a master at fried chicken.
Oh, fried chicken. Well, you're from the South, so I mean, you better be a master of fried chicken.
I'm a master at whipping it up, man. Not cooking though, just the chicken. You know what I'm saying? I'm still working.
I got you, man. I got to stick with the grilled chicken myself. I'm trying to eat healthy. I love fried chicken, right? But there's a time and a place for everything.
See, I need to get on your level, man. I need to get on your level because I was watching.
Man, it's not easy, but somebody's got to do it.
On me on the show, man. So I've been doing my sit-ups. Like, man, hold on, let me get it right.
Oh man, you know what's crazy? It's like when you're younger, you go in the gym, and it's like, okay, you feel you're invincible, and then you get older, and those same things that you did prior, you're like, oh my goodness, it's like a whole new excursion, right? An excavate. I gotta go learn how to do this all over again. It's wild, man.
Down a little different. Like they didn't go down like it used to go down. Like,
yeah, exactly. I'm different. Yeah, I can't move this because you know my MCL. I pulled it playing basketball. You know what I mean? What am I supposed to do now?
And stuff, pop locking, just hurt.
There it is. There it is. Gabriel, where can we follow you on social media, man?
Man, Instagram at Gabriel Cannon Music, Facebook Gabriel Cannon Music, I believe. I'm there now. People be talking about I'm old, but I'm getting my TikTok game right. Stay tuned. But really just Instagram Gabriel Cannon Music. I'm working on this Victory album, man. It's out real soon. It's about all of our victory. It's about the victory we have in God and Christ and in this world, this dominion and everything. So, man, I appreciate everybody rocking with me on Claim to Fame, man. I appreciate all the comments. I appreciate you, all the interviews, man. Yeah, man, to God be the glory.
Hey, to God be the glory. Gabriel Cannon, the winner of this season's ABC's Claim to Fame. He's a recording artist. Make sure you check out the Project Victory, coming to a streaming platform near you. And Gabriel, man, I'm looking forward to seeing what you do next. Thank you, my friend.
I appreciate you, brother. It was a pleasure, man.
Absolutely. Gabriel Cannon right here on Air with Brandon J. Got music coming up. Stay tuned.
Thank you for tuning in to On Air with Brandon J. Follow on Instagram at I am Brandon J.
Here's an exclusive. You're in the mix with Brandon, the DJ Everyday J on iHeart and Dash.